Once I heard about this club and, what they were trying to do, it was a no-brainer.
Going to be the largest outdoor stadium in Northeast Indiana. I get the same response out of every human being, whether they like soccer or not. Wow.
But why do you think why it lagged so much versus the rest of the world as far as the growth of the sport?
Look at MLS, the inaugural season was 1996. It's not that long. And you look at American football, and they've been around for 90 years.
It's the number one sport in the world. We're just catching up here.
Is there something that really stands out when you think back to your career?
The highlight and the most proud I've ever been.
You're listening to the NEI Pioneer Podcast. This podcast is all about sharing the authentic stories of the people in our region. Today, we have a very highly anticipated guest on our podcast, Fort Wayne's own DaMarcus Beasley. If you aren't aware of his lengthy soccer career, let me catch you up. DaMarcus is the first American man to play in 4 World Cups. He also played in 11 MLS seasons and on multiple English Premier League teams. He was then inducted into the Soccer Hall of Fame at the end of his career. Although I covered only a portion of his athletic career, he did not stop when he retired in 2019. He has come back to his hometown to help start Fort Wayne's Football Club. Alongside DaMarcus, we also interviewed Chief Operations Manager of Fort Wayne FC, Scott Sproat. These two give us a behind-the-scenes look at how FWFC got started, their journey into USL1, and their current construction on their groundbreaking new soccer stadium. They also share why they're so passionate about bringing a soccer team to Northeast Indiana. So come with us into the world of all things soccer in this episode.
Scott Sproat and DaMarcus Beasley. I am so happy to have you guys here. Welcome to NEI.
Appreciate
it.
Yeah. And the NEI Pioneer Podcast. I got to tell you, so I moved here. I've been here 3 years now, and I moved here from Chicago. And all I could hear was get DaMarcus Beasley on the show. And today is the day. So if you guys wouldn't mind, would you mind giving us a setup on FWFC? Exactly what it is, just so that the people, because we have a really broad reach with the show. So a lot of people aren't from the Fort Wayne area.
Well, what I'll do is I'll throw to DaMarcus first because he's been around since the beginning of the club.
Okay.
And he's a huge motivator as to why we're here.
Oh, I was about to say, I'm not a motivational speaker. I thought you were
No,
going to say that.
I want to hear we need some motivation.
Yeah, we need
man.
your
Go
pregame
for it.
speech, right?
But no, I mean, and again, I have a connection to the club because my son has played for the club almost from the beginning. Well, from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Get
And
outta
so I've got that going for me, but the club wouldn't be here without him. I mean,
Okay.
that's this bottom line. There was a lot of other people involved as well. He's going to beg off that already because he's a shy guy, humble guy. But I mean, that was the impetus. And so now we're in the process of really taking it to levels probably never imagined when they started.
Yeah.
But as far as the origins, I'll turn it over to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the first year's jersey is already on the table, so that's pretty cool. And I saw that when I walked in. But no, I'll be obviously I'm going to be 100% honest. I wasn't one of the persons that started the club. I got a phone call from Greg Mauk asking if I wanted to be the head coach. So the club had already been formed, and they kind of knew what they wanted to do, and so I got a call.
How long ago was that phone call?
Man, I was still playing, so it had to be 2018 maybe.
Wow.
I retired in 2019, so I was still with the Houston Dynamo at the time, and I politely declined because for one, I was still playing. Two, I don't want to coach.
They asked me too, but
no
never
one's
wanted
asked me to coach.
Yeah,
I don't know what the deal is.
I never
over there.
wanted to coach. That was never something that I wanted to do after my career.
It seems like that's a really good graduation to go from player to coach. No.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean everyone has their after career path from whatever sport they're in. If it's in business, if it's in TV and media, entertainment, coaching. Everyone has their, or just be a parent or whatever it is. But for me, I always loved the business side of football, soccer. Sorry.
you can say football.
You can say football.
Okay. I always loved the business side of football. So that was something that always intrigued me. I knew that I wanted to do that. I had a lot of different calls with a lot of my former teammates that are in those roles now in MLS and in Europe, just to kind of see how it all went through. But just getting a little bit back to Fort Wayne. But yeah, you have to thank the guys that did start this. Eric Magner, John Bellio, Mark Music was one.
Yeah, I knew about Mark.
Bill Corshit as well.
I mean, and as a parent at the time, I mean, I can't couldn't express how thankful I was, because it gave my son, who was playing a high-level college, but I mean, it gave him a chance to play a high-level game right here in town. Without all the travel and everything else. So I mean, I'm so thankful for those people as well.
Yeah, and Tom Lapsley, I can't forget him. But those are the names that started the club, and then once they kind of formed, the name, I had nothing to do with the name or the colors or any of the ideas of Fort Wayne FC. But once everything got formed, that's when they asked me to be a part of the ownership group. And obviously that is in my realm, hometown. It's a new club. Be a sponge and learn more so on the business side. And so obviously I jumped at the opportunity. Wow. So that's how I got into it personally.
It's funny because some of the things that you're saying are ringing true. One of my longtime business partners is a former NBA guy, Jamal Mashburn, if you know Jamal.
I know the name,
Monster Mash.
I came from basketball too.
Oh, that's right.
I ran the Fury for 10 years, the real first pro team.
He grew up in Harlem. And he ended up playing for Kentucky. I think most sports fans know that. But he always talked about, they were trying to get him into coaching too, because when he was in college, his team beat the Dream Team. Do you guys remember that whole ordeal? They brought in the college kids to beat up on the pros because the pros had such egos or whatever. But his reason for not wanting to get into coaching was more that it was too tempting to play.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to be the guy in the background.
See, I'm the total opposite. I don't have patience with kids, with these young people.
But you hold camps, don't you?
Yeah, I know. No, okay, not those kids. I'm talking about like 16, 17, 18. The ones that think they know everything about the sport. Attitude. And attitude. I don't have patience, man. Like, it'll be, if I was a coach and we signed a player, I know myself. If I was a coach, we signed a player and attitude, he thought he knew everything, wasn't coachable, just everything.
That was me.
Yeah, I'll be like, Scott, because you'd be the one to sign in players now. So I'd be like, Scott, we got to let him go. We just signed him yesterday, but we got to let him go.
And then I would say, wait a minute, what's his name again? Because I've never been to a practice.
So
34 years in sports. People are always like, what drew you to hockey? I'm like, nothing. I've never been on a pair of skates. So
so I'm no patience. So that is the reason why I didn't want to be a coach.
Okay.
So
well, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, You've mentioned, touched on your background a little bit, DaMarcus. You've played all around the world and even here locally in MLS. What drew you back to, Northeast Indiana? Was it the chance to be a part of something here in your hometown?
100%. I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
You must have had other offers, right?
Well, not to be an owner.
Oh, okay.
Not to be an owner. I had other opportunities to do other things. But no, that I never had I didn't have an opportunity to be an owner. Or call myself a minority owner or whatever you want to call it, small owner. And obviously having that title, but then being able to do it in Fort Wayne, in my hometown, my parents, my mom, my dad, my brother, a couple of my aunties, they all still live in Fort Wayne. Because throughout my career, I would only come here, because I still have my Beasley camps, with Beasley football. So I would come here for a day, sign some autographs, and then I got to go back to work. I was still playing. Sometimes I would even ask the coach. I'd be like, hey, coach, I need to go to Fort Wayne for a day. I'll be back for training tomorrow, but, can I, miss the first part of the, today's training? He'd be like, yeah, no problem. So I would go, fly to Fort Wayne, sign some autographs, be here for an hour, and then take the last flight out and be at training the next day. So I would only spend, 20 hours in Fort Wayne. So once I heard about this club and what they were trying to do, it was a no-brainer, for me. And that's when I started asking questions about how to the ownership roles and anything else to start a club. What goes into that, how hard it is, what are the most important things of other clubs that started clubs from scratch, from a basically a whiteboard. Just getting ideas from friends of mine around the league, around the world that try to help our club as much as possible.
But I got to tell you guys, we were reading over the bios, and DaMarcus made 126 appearances for the U.S. men's national team between 2001 and 2017. Okay, was the first American man to play in 4 World Cups. He played 11 seasons in Major League Soccer. And these accolades, I'm not going to go into because it'll take up the whole show. But I have to ask you, did you do other sports? And at what point did you realize, this could become my thing?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because we were talking about where I went to high school, before we started the show. And so I played basketball. I did play basketball. I tried to play power football, but
American football. Tried. Just to
listen
be
to the
clear.
reason,
You must have been a fast runner.
Listen to
I
the
was-
reason. They said I was too skinny.
Well, you still are.
No, but listen, there was
a compliment.
there was a weight requirement that you had to be in power football to play power football, because I think I was 6th grade or something.
I didn't have any
at the time.
issues with it.
And yeah, I did. So you had to be. It's probably I don't think I've ever told this story, to be honest.
we got one.
You had to
Alright.
be at least 61 pounds. I was 59.
61?
In 6th grade,
Yeah, something like that.
I was 61 pounds when I was born.
you could have done the Barney Fife
Yeah,
and just wore a big
right?
chain.
Yeah, just a sweater or something,
Yeah.
a hoodie, anything. But yeah, so I couldn't play power football because I'm, my brother played power football. My brother played every sport you can imagine.
He kind of played soccer, too.
Yeah, he was a real athlete, my brother. But and I wanted to be like him, and so but that was the reason why I never played American football. But anyway, when I was in at Southside, I played basketball. I was on the freshman squad, or whatever you call it, the reserves, I think you call it now. And then but obviously I was still playing football at the same time. So when it got to a point where MLS had started, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I knew it, and so I would miss basketball, training or practice, whatever, to go play soccer. Whether that be a tournament with the youth national team, or if it was with Citadel, the club team I was here in Fort Wayne, whatever it was, I was missed. So the coach literally sat me down, my high school basketball coach, and said, "Okay, look, he said you have to pick. He's like, you cannot keep playing basketball or soccer." And
What, did you feel like you weren't dedicating enough time to him? Is
yeah,
that what it
basically,
was?
basically. And I took off
Sounds like
my
a coach.
jersey because it was after training. It
Bet you
was
did.
after practice. Took off my jersey and left, and I said, "All right, I'm out." Because it was easy. It was an easy decision. And for
but
one, I was
then-
better at soccer than basketball.
Yeah,
so
but
Yeah.
then shortly thereafter, how old your first pro contact was what?
16.
16. So, I mean, that,
Wow.
he knew pretty quick that he was going to do it. Yeah.
This is a trick question, by the way. How much of that was a testament to coaching, and how much of that was a testament to natural ability?
You can say it. You can say it. I'll say
that's
it if
tough,
you want.
man. Because I say that because my
95.5.
dad.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was my coach, but he didn't know anything.
95.5.
He knew my dad played.
No disrespect
football,
to Mr. Beasley.
American
No,
football.
But
Yeah.
95.5.
But look, I will give some credit to Phil Downs, Mark Wellington, some of my club coaches that helped me, get to where I am today. 100%. Phil Downs at Southside, and then my Citadel coach, Mark Wellington. They did a really good job with me. But it wasn't until when I made the U15 national team, so I was about 14.
Yeah,
When I made that team,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah.
It's high school.
When I
freshman.
made that team, I was around, some of the better players in America, and then obviously we had camps and we have games and we have training sessions, this and that, and that's what really got me to a different level. But playing against the best players at my age at that time.
Were those travel teams that you were on at a young age like that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, well, and locally, yeah, it was a local team. Now they have Fort Wayne United, Fort Wayne Sport Club. Well, Fort Wayne Sport Club's been around for years.
Right.
But back then, the team that I played for was called Fort Wayne Citadel, and so that was the club team I played for. The
Yeah,
national team is a
And
whole
the funny
different.
thing about that
story.
is my son played for Citadel literally at the end of it. So he would, not the beginning, but
Yeah.
probably pretty close to
Yeah.
it. And then my son played at the end. So it's like full circle. And, we came kind of down the same roads. I was a parent.
Yeah.
I was driving. He was riding. I was watching. He was
What
playing.
years was the Citadel running? It's not running anymore, right?
No. Now it's United. That's
Yeah,
the-
okay.
that's
They
the- yeah.
absorbed him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we used to play them.
Oh, you play soccer?
Yeah, I played for the Bavarian League. Did
Okay.
you ever hear them in
I've heard of
Milwaukee?
it. Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
You ever heard what's that tournament in Chicago? Swabin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played in that a couple times.
Yeah.
I was the youngest kid, but yeah.
Well, okay.
Because it was a men's tournament. It was a
So
men's
how,
tournament.
how you doing over there? You good?
Yeah.
No, so I
Two
okay.
old chums over here catching up.
I'm sorry. So the long story short,
Brings back memories, man.
I was a sprinter.
Okay.
So I ran on a track scholarship to Minnesota. But to be honest, I was good at soccer because I was fast, but my ball control was nothing.
Yeah.
That's kind of important.
Yeah, it is important, but not when you're playing in those leagues.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
I was faster than everybody, and I'd just take off and let them let them
Try to
lead
chase
me.
you,
Yeah. But okay, so you're coming up through that system, and at 16 was when you got your first contract.
Yeah, I signed right out of high school. I was 16, I think, 10 months or something like that. So right after my sophomore year, basically. I was ready. They offered me a contract, and that was it.
God, that would have been unheard of at the time, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I was the youngest to sign a professional contract out of high school. But the fun fact out of that was 2 years before that, or a year. Yeah, 2 years before that, my brother Jamar, he was the first ever player signed out of high school.
Wow.
For the whole league.
So Mr. Beasley gets a lot of credit because he had two pretty good athletes.
Yeah, so for 2 years he had two. He had his.
That's
both
the
his
same
sons were
Mr.
pro.
Beasley that was a lousy coach, right?
Yeah.
Kidding.
You can say it.
No
You can say
comment.
it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, take him bowling sometime and tell me how you do.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the deal?
He can bowl. No, he was a good coach. He learned a lot, but as far as like coaching, he was a good mentor. We talk about like, I would say, like motivational stuff like that. But we were back then. Soccer wasn't around. You know what I'm saying? Like I was on the VHS era.
I mean, coming through high school,
it wasn't on TV. There was no academies and none stuff
I'm
going
older
on.
than Marcus, but on the football field, we would look over and be like, why would anybody play that sport? All
Yeah.
you do is run.
Yeah.
And then you score one goal every game. You know,
Well-
and so we just didn't get it. And it was a club sport when I was in high school. So, and it's obviously now it's the biggest sport in the world. That's the thing that really drew me was that number one, I had a connection to the club and I knew what soccer was about. And I also was one that knew where it was going. And that's prior to the World Cup coming to the United States, but it's coming to the United States.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And people will talk about the Super Bowl, and a lot of my friends are football players, they're sports business people. 175 million people watched the Super Bowl last year. Mm-hmm. Okay. Last time the World Cup was played, 4.1 billion people watched the World Cup. So now, again, I'm not comparing, but at the same time, it's the number one sport in the world. We're just catching up here.
What do you guys think the lag is? I mean, or the lag has been.
I'm going to turn over to
For
that the adoption of soccer. So I came up playing football just like everybody in the neighborhood. I switched to soccer my junior year in high school, and again, it was a combination of not wanting to. I had 2 concussions. After a while, you're like, okay, maybe I better not do this.
Been there.
I still see in America, soccer is far beyond where it was when I was growing up.
Yep, same.
But why do you think why it lagged so much versus the rest of the world as far as the growth of the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for one, it has to do with the league. You look at in the past when, Pelé was, playing here in New York Cosmos, and they had that league. I think it was NASL, I think it was called. But then it folded. And then we didn't have a league, for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And you look at MLS, I mean, the inaugural season was 1996. It was what was that? 30 years now? 30 years now. So it's not that long. I mean, and you look at American football. You look at the Colts and the Bengals, and they've been around for 90 years. So to compare, the growth of soccer in our league with some of the other big sport, basketball, football, don't even start on baseball, over 100 years, So everyone knows and, has grown up being a Yankees fan or, or an Indians fan. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right?
that's
so
right.
It's hard to compare, that. But I think what we've done with the game in the last, especially when the league has come in 1996, it's boomed, and the growth and the investment and the effort and financial, basically investment to put in our sport to make it to what it is now is remarkable. I mean, you look at some of these, you look at San Diego in MLS. Just look at San Diego. I don't know, is it FC or something like that? But MLS, they just paid $500 million to get a team in the league. That's unheard. Like I played in MLS back in 2000 when there was 12 teams. Mm-hmm. Now we have 30.
Yeah.
Like the growth of the game in this country is incredible, male and female.
Yeah.
And the women are doing their part. They win World Cups, they win an Olympic. They're doing their part. Now it's time for the men to really get behind a winning team, and hopefully at some point we can win a World Cup. It's going to take a lot of time. It's not easy, but at the same time.
Yeah, I would go a step further even. I would say it's reverse of like the NFL. So the NFL is cutting edge right now as far as looking at Europe and taking games across the pond, so to speak, and playing over there. Now they're talking about potentially a whole division over there. The NBA is right there with them. They've had these leagues and things like that. So I feel like the American sports, they started here. The top players in the world are here. The household names are here. And now they're going that direction.
Yeah.
This is coming opposite for soccer. And, just like the Apple deal with Messi. I mean, it's a game changer. Whether you believe in the economics of it or not, that is undisputed one of the top 2 players in the world. I don't know where you'd put him, but right now.
He's the best. Oh, right now?
Well, no.
But he's
in
the
his
best
prime.
player in the world ever.
In his prime. So for him to come and say, hey, the MLS is a league that I'm okay playing in because it's a good league and it's getting better and better and better. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to bring teammates and people I had connections to, too. That's huge. And then, let's talk about it. I mean, David Beckham. And it's because of who his wife was as well. It's because they made movies about him. Mm-hmm. It's because he was sort of that big name from an American standpoint.
That's right. Yeah.
That then he came, and it was early in that life cycle compared to like Messi and things like that. Now, he was here, I mean, is that fair to say? At a much earlier point in his career.
Yeah.
And so it was just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And it took the right minds and the right people. And it took, now they call it going viral. Back then they called it eyeballs. I mean, you've been in the media. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was eyeballs. And so now it's social media and it's viral. So soccer is going viral in this country, but it didn't used to because the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball had all the eyeballs, and with it, the TV contracts. But now the MLS and some of the leagues around the world even are taking a whole different approach, adopting streaming, which is the future of the broadcast industry.
That's right.
So I think there's a potential there to be on par. Are they going to ever be, like the NFL where they can say, okay, you're going to give me $1 billion per game and you're going to give me 10? I think eventually, not yet, but they are that around the world.
Today, our studio is on the road because we are currently at our 2025 Pioneer Awards event. Each spring, we host an awards event to celebrate our region's pioneers. And just like our podcast, this event aims to showcase and share the authentic stories of the people in our region. This summer and fall, we're going to have open nominations for our Pioneer nominees. If you know someone who embodies the pioneer spirit and is creating positive change in the community, we would invite you to nominate them so that they can share their story. Then, just like this year, we're going to be celebrating all of the nominees at our Pioneer Awards event, which, speaking of, our 2025 Pioneer is about to be announced, so I have to go. But before I go, if you're in the Northeast Indiana region, we encourage you to check out our website at pioneerstartshere.com. That's pioneerstartshere.com. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
Well, Jonathan rattled off DaMarcus's bio, and I'm not going to rattle off yours.
Please don't.
But you mentioned that
shows people how old I am.
Yeah, but you've worked in minor league sports here in Fort Wayne, and looking at your bio, it has a specific line in there that I thought was very important, that you chose to stay here and work in minor league sports here. Why is that? 2
reasons. This is home for me as well. Now it was technically Waterloo/Auburn, but that's still we claim we're from Fort Wayne when we're from there. So that was reason number one. And I that was what I wanted to, just like him. I mean, I'd played sports, I'd been involved in even some coaching and like some management and some volunteer stuff. So I wanted to do that here. But then I also got very, very fortunate. I had a relationship with some people who bought the Fury, bought the pro club and brought it to town. And they knew me well enough to know that I was in the process of getting an education, at least hopefully. And then they said, hey, let's go do this together. And I said, absolutely. And then I met an amazing woman, and I got married, and she has no interest in moving, so there's your real answer.
But shout out to the wife.
That's right. But no, the short answer is to have the chance to get to do this in the place you grew up. The motivations are very similar to DaMarcus's. He just went away and got famous and became, Mr. Soccer and all that. Well, I was just toiling away in the minor leagues here in Fort Wayne, but to me it was the same thing. And it was always about the relationships that we could create and way we could use the platform to elevate not only the sport but the community. And that was my focus from day one. How can I connect things in the community that either are already doing very well or things that really need help? How could I connect the team as not necessarily a financial, buoy for their cause, but across the board to make them feel better about what they did, give them a platform to show off what they did, and then give them some role models and some people to look up to. And the same as DaMarcus was saying about the attitude of the players, we were the same way. I mean, we didn't win much with the Fury because we had a standard, and if the player wasn't a good guy, we didn't keep him.
Wow.
I got
You
to
don't
the
hear
comments,
that very often.
and that was my ownership group. I mean, that was not me. That was not my colleagues. My coworkers. That was our ownership group, and they insisted upon that. And there's a lot of the people that are responsible for a lot of things you do here still. I mean, and that was the group, and so that was important to them. And then with the Comets, it was more about the connection to the average person. I'd say it was more about organizations and corporate people with the Fury, and then with the Comets, I mean, 72 years. Where does that exist? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
never.
the second oldest minor league hockey team in North America. So that's what intrigued me about the Comets. And then I had a very dear friend, Michael Franke of the Franke brothers, was a very close friend of mine already. So at that point in time, I'd been in the CBA, which was the minor league system of the NBA. So I had opportunities to go to New York, work for the NBA, some different opportunities for different teams. But, Michael called me and said, hey, why don't you stick around here? And then my wife said, you were just kidding yourself anyway because we weren't going anywhere. So there it is. But that's part
Please
of
don't
why.
let him get this gig. Please don't let him get this gig.
No, it wasn't a matter of that. It's like, yeah, well, good luck on your own, and we'll see you, whenever you decide to come back. But the values that Mark and the ownership group that started the team and where the direction of the club is going, and DaMarcus being here, I mean, it matches up. But now what we have to do is connect those dots to take the passionate pockets of soccer fans. And then I'll be blunt, the communities around town that exist. We're not one big community yet, unfortunately. There are segments. And our goal is to use 4NFC and our new stadium to bring a lot of those segments together. And to really have a true sense of community and to give something to the city, to give back. The economic realities and opportunities that we've created go farther than soccer. I mean, the stadium will host concerts, it'll host festivals, it'll host,
You're intrepid on our questions here.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I want to get in on the
we can go. You want to just
I wanted to get.
stay in?
Hey, you had your time, okay? You had your time.
Hey, you got your bobblehead, dude.
Yeah, I know,
okay,
right?
You
I
got-
don't have a bobblehead.
Yeah,
to be
none of
fair.
us do.
I mean,
No, but what in those past experiences, what have you taken? You kind of touched on it a little bit. What have you taken from those, previous experiences and applied it to Fort Wayne FC? Because it's obviously about connecting to those communities. It's not just here in Fort Wayne, but there's several of our outlying counties have huge.
You talk to a decal baron. Okay?
Yeah, or first that comes to mind, I grew up in Noble County, so the community like Ligonier, they have a huge soccer following over there that, they even have like some, smaller clubs that they run out of there as well. So, how have you used the prior lessons and applied it here as far as like connecting to the region?
I think I can give you a simple answer, which for me is rare. It's on us, okay? If you come into it thinking, well, if they build it, if you build it, they will come. That's not what it is. And even with the stadium we're building, it's not if you build. It's still on us. It's our responsibility to connect those dots. It's our responsibility to reach out to those people. And anybody can say, oh, we're going to reach out. We're going to send our players to a clinic. We're going to send our mascot to a race or a festival. The philosophies are the same before I got here. It's on us. And DaMarcus feels that way. Mark feels that way. And it's a legacy play for me, too. It's DaMarcus' hometown. He wants to build a soccer club and a football club. And I want to leave a mark in sports. I've kind of been there, done that in some of the other ones. So that's what it's about for me, too.
Yeah, I would say, is that, a legacy kind of play for you as well, DaMarcus? Like to have that, be one of the, your item lines on the resume?
That's hard to say, man.
Yeah.
I never got into this sport, for accolades or to, to have people speak highly of me about my career or anything like that. So it's not something that is like, okay, well, I'm doing it only because I'm the soccer player and this is going to be great for my legacy, or I'm going to leave behind my name because of this and that. It's not about that. It's about people you work with. It's about people that have the same vision and align with you in what you're trying to build. And like I said, we're very, very confident in the people that we have at the club right now, and adding some pieces as we go, obviously, that we can do that, and we can do that together. So it's not about. I don't really think about, to be honest. I don't really think about leaving a legacy just because it's my hometown. It's more so just like for me, it's more so about, you know, how I treat people and, you know, my character and, you know, really sticking by my, you know, how I am as a person.
And that's important. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
When I say legacy, what I mean is going back to that first question you asked me about uniting the community and using the stadium as something that years from, I mean, Parkview Field is an absolute ridiculous home run, to use a cliche. It's regarded as the top minor league baseball field in the country.
That's where was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
are you guys stealing a page from that, do you think?
I mean, to a certain degree, but you know, one of the things I'll stress is our stadium is 100% privately funded. And that was one of the biggest things that drew me to the project.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter who's right, who's wrong, you know, what your political affiliation is, anything else. We all know that public funds get used to build buildings and to bring teams in and to do everything else. And it's typically with people who have done very well for themselves in life also involved. And so whether you're going to complain about that money being used or how it's used, Parkview Field's a perfect example of everybody got it right. And it was an absolute catalyst for downtown. You know, when people say downtown, to me, that was it. That was the match.
Yeah. Well, it was amazing because our CEO is Stefan Frigia here. And when Stefan had called me to come out here, you know, obviously I went to the internet and I was looking. I had never been to Fort Wayne. And I'm in charge of marketing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're not alone.
It was a stretch. So when I was reading all the things and all the infighting that was happening about building that stadium, they've already got a stadium that's good enough, blah, blah, blah. You know, the dividing line of vision is the way I was looking at it. Yeah. And I haven't seen that. I think Ambassador is working with you guys. There's people around in these meetings to build this new stadium. And I'm not
From a construction standpoint?
Yeah. Isn't that true?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's all Mark.
Okay.
This is Mark's passion project. It's not a legacy play for him.
And I'm not seeing any of the fighting about this.
It's nobody can fight about it.
Yeah. I suppose
there's not a single dollar of anybody's being used. I mean, no tax dollars, no subsidies, no city, no state, no county, nothing. It's really more about, could we have done it cheaper, modular, less hyper? Yes. But then is that making the same statement to Fort Wayne about how much Mark believes in it, the other people involved with the club? And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that there's still other people involved. It's a smaller level involvement, but it's like DaMarcus and I. I mean, you can go down any road and say this person's, you know, but everybody plays a role. And the biggest thing is we're going to leave something, and this is maybe my legacy point. You know, Fort Wayne's not going to have a modular stadium on the outskirts of town where it's just nice enough to play soccer. I mean, this thing is going to be, it's going to be the largest outdoor stadium in Northeast Indiana. It's going to be, and people look at the drawings and they look at the renders and I get the same response out of every human being, whether they like soccer or not. And it is a very simple response. Wow.
Yeah. On
my drive into work, I drive past it. You know, right now they're just pushing dirt around, which is nice to see at least, because I kept wondering, you know, all spring, all right, when are they going to, because it says May of 2026. How long ago was this stadium, you know, in mind? You know, obviously, because it coincides with you guys moving up to USL 1.
The idea was always to be a professional club. Always. That's always been the vision of this club, even before I got here. You know, they told me that they wanted to do that.
Might have been a different league.
It might have been a different league, but they wanted to be a professional. They wanted to bring professional football, professional soccer to Fort Wayne. That was always been the vision. And I'm sure you might remember, you know, once Fort Wayne FC, once we, you know, had our first match, there was talks about a stadium using the North River, you know, project that's going to be, they had renderings and drawings and everyone was so excited and this and that. We got a little ahead of ourselves.
Infighting there.
Exactly.
That was
So
still
we got
happening.
And still happening.
But,
correct.
But the point is, the idea of building a stadium in Fort Wayne, I keep saying football, soccer specific stadium, was always in the plan. Yeah. It was just where it was going to be, who was going to build it, how we're going to build it, and if we have, you know, people passionate enough to really invest in what we're trying to do. So the vision has always been the same, pretty much. You know, yes, how we managed to get here and from the past is totally, I wouldn't say totally different, but I would say we had to make sacrifices in those first couple of years to get to where we are now. Which in any startup business, any startup company,
success is never linear.
Exactly,
So
it's
always
never
ups and downs.
Yeah, it's always ups and downs.
Yeah.
You know, we had our downs. You know, a couple of years. So yeah, just to answer that question, the vision to bring professional soccer to Fort Wayne and to build a soccer-specific stadium has always been there.
You see, you can't say football-specific stadium in the United States because then you lose people. So
Yeah.
I'm
saying soccer.
That's when we get them to say soccer. The rest of the time it's football, and we're not the Fort Wayne Soccer Club. I mean, we're the Fort Wayne Football Club. So I mean,
Right.
you got to go both ways.
So the move also, you know, in the news this past 6 months or so is you guys moving up to USL 1 after this current season that we're filming in the middle of. But what's the significance of that? Was that you kind of touched on it? Always professional soccer was always the end goal. And, when did USL 1 kind of come into the fold? And this is actually going to be realistic for us to.
I mean, you want the long answer or the short answer?
We got time.
We got time.
The great thing and what I love about Mark is that he's a very successful person.
That'd be Mark Music, Ruoff Moritz.
As you can see here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's a very successful person, and I'm sure he's a very intelligent man as well. We were not ready to become a professional club.
That's fair.
Last year, 3 years ago, we were not ready. Financially, on the field, off the field, we were not in a position to become a professional soccer club. So, and the good thing is that we have people that make a lot of decisions for our club that know what they're doing, are smart about business, and they understand what it actually takes to get there. And it's not just from I'm going to invest, $200 million in something and then just let it go. No, you have to build things. Yeah, it goes, brick by brick. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. What we are actually trying to build, even from, back in 2018-19 when we started the club, all these little things, when we talk about, on the field, that first year, we didn't win one game. On the field, we didn't win one game. But then we sold out, three out of our, I think, how many games we had that year? Maybe 13 or 14. We sold out 3 or 4 of them, So
now you guys have won back-to-back
and now we're back-to-back championships,
Yeah.
Even on the field, we've taken some lumps.
Yeah.
We didn't make the playoffs the first 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we've done and everything that we've went through on the field and off the field has helped us get to this point. And I applaud the people that are attached and to our club that helped us get to this point.
Well, when you say you guys weren't ready financially and maybe talent-wise, whatever, was that a descending opinion of yours, or was that a collective?
Collective.
Really?
Yeah, collective. Because
see, that's rare.
We don't. I mean, you never want to do something. Well, there's a thin line between, trying and then knowing that you're going to put yourself or setting yourself up for failure. Mm-hmm. We all want to. You can't ever achieve something if you don't fail or if you don't fall or if you don't. If you don't try. But the thing is, I don't think we were, and a lot of people agree. That's why we haven't done it yet. But that we weren't ready as a club to make that move. Mm-hmm. And if we did, we would have set ourselves up for failure. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for a lack of trying, because that's what, like I said, since the day I talked to Greg Mock on the phone, way back when, the idea was always to bring a professional club to Fort Wayne. It's always been an idea, but how we got there mattered. You don't want to just say, okay, yeah, we sold out some stadiums, we played some good football, okay, now we're ready. No, there's steps to it, and I think now we're at a point adding, personnel like Scott with all his experience in minor league sports and, sponsorships and partnerships and everything that he's learned in his 30-something years.
That's like soccer and football.
Yeah.
No, it's not a sponsorship.
Well,
okay, that's Little League. It's a
partnership. I said it the second time.
Yeah, I know.
All the things
for
he's
soccer.
learned, for soccer,
not for football.
It's football club.
All those experiences he's learned in the last 30 years, bringing that to the club. We needed someone like him. We didn't have that before, so now we do. So now we're taking steps to get to that point.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Were you recruited or did you raise your hand? How did you joining these guys? How did that come about?
Very good question.
It is a combination of that. I think I'm a lucky guy, okay, and I appreciate the praise out of
You're a lucky guy with skill.
But at the same, well, okay, but I don't care. You know, and it's just like going back to that whole legacy play. You can call me head water boy. I've most of the time I don't even know what my titles have been. It's not about that. You know, I've been captains of teams. I've been the worst player on a team when I'm younger. I mean, so I've seen it all. And then I've been an intern, you know, for a team all the way up to having interns. And then I became an adjunct professor to teach sports, not because the pay was good, not because I had time, but because I wanted to help kids get a chance to have that path that I had. So to answer your question simply, I've never had a resume. I've never been on a job interview. And it was very similar. At the end of the Fury, I got a phone call from Michael Franke, who said, hey, you and I are already close. Don't leave town. I'd like to do this with you. Wow. And as I was getting to the point where, you know, the Comets are in a tremendous place. They're mature. We've grown so much over the last 24 years. Same thing. They were pro, sure, but were they ready to be a high-level affiliated club? I mean, you know, they were up until, you know, almost 2000, but then they weren't. And there was a lot of bumps and lumps and failures and successes along those ways too. And then so getting to the point where I'm getting older, I'm starting to look at where do I have in life. But no, so this is like, okay, this sounds fun. This sounds like something I can do that. And it's a chance to build something from the ground up almost. And I'll be blunt. I got a phone call from Mark Music, and he said, hey, let's go do this together. And, you know,
kind of hard to say no.
Well, I mean, no, not necessarily. And then when I really bought in is when I met DaMarcus, when I met other people involved with the club, and I realized that this wasn't I wouldn't call it a passion project. I wouldn't call it a money grab. I wouldn't call it anything other than legitimate opportunity to connect the community in ways that it isn't yet. I mean, soccer's not as big here as other sports yet.
Yeah.
But we're coming.
Yeah.
And that's what he and I are tasked to do on a daily basis. There's days when I'll say something to him from a local Fort Wayne, Indiana business standpoint, and he'll just immediately say, because his goals to build the club are to build it in a way that it's rival with top clubs in the world, but here at home in North America. And sometimes there's a conflict there. And then sometimes I'll say to him, no, you know, and that's what we're doing together. And I saw that as a parent of a player for the club. I mean, even day one, when they were humble beginnings, the players have been treated like they're Premier League players. I mean, seriously. And those standards are important as well.
Is that a credit to DaMarcus?
150,000%. But he's going to say no. Yes.
What influences did you take, you know, in your playing experience, and like how you use it in the front office side? You know,
I mean, that part, all of it. Yeah. You know, like that part, all of it. Look, as a player, you know, in any sport, as a player, you know which club or which team did things the right way.
Right.
You know, how you felt welcome, how you got treated, how your family was treated when, you know, if your mom or dad or wife or daughter, whoever comes to the stadium, how they're treated by, you know, some of the staff at the club and the teams that you play for. Those little tiny details matter to me.
Everything.
They matter to Scott, they matter to Mark, they matter to our club. You know, little details. And that's where I think I could offer some expertise in that area, you know, as far as getting the little details right, you know, how we travel, you know, how we eat, you know, how much the resources that we give our coaches and players to succeed on a daily basis, you know, where they train, does that matter? You know, all these little things that maybe people might take for granted and don't really understand what it actually is to be a professional football soccer club. So I think those things, you know, I've been able to, you know, help the club with. But, this is 100% a team effort. And the coaching staff has been great, too.
Barrett McNagny is a neighbor to us as well as a sponsor of this podcast. Barrett McNagny is a law firm that's located in downtown Fort Wayne, and they were founded in 1876. Now, I'll do some quick math for you. That's almost 150 years of experience. That's 149 years longer than this podcast has been around. Along with their experience, they also have a wide range of practice areas. They are best known for their trusted legal counsel where and when you need it. If you're interested in their services or want to learn more, be sure to check out the link in the description below. Now back to the episode.
You guys probably have different paths, or thinking of this answer to the question. What did success look like in the beginning, and what does it look like now? You could probably answer the what now, and you probably like back then. Obviously, professional soccer is the goal at the end, but do you guys feel like you're on a successful trajectory?
Success means that I'm long gone, and it's still vibrant and important to the community and part of the largest sport in the world, and that Fort Wayne understands that, embraces it, and that from the time a kid's 4 years old and wants to kick a soccer ball, that he dreams or she dreams immediately of playing for Fort Wayne FC or whatever the life cycle takes. And whether I'm here or not, it doesn't matter.
You took my freaking answer. That's
Boy,
why.
that's
You started off on your own answer, then you took my answer.
Yeah.
But no, that's the same. But seriously, I mean, we've talked about this, and I told him, the vision for this club, as far as when we do build our academy, success isn't just when we get to professional football, soccer, and we win a USL. No, sorry.
I've been working hard on that, but now I'm
Number
flipping back a little
71.
bit. Yeah.
And we win a USL 1, final or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't have any player in our squad go, get sought out for MLS or go to Europe. That's not a win for us. A win for us is exactly what he alluded to. It's
about dreams.
when we do have our academy and we have infrastructure and environment that we can put these young boys and young girls in so they can succeed and hopefully reach their goals of making it to a World Cup or making it to Olympics if that's their dream of what they want to do in the sport. But the idea of having a youth athlete at 5, 6, 7, 8 and going through our whole U10, U12, U13, and then that day when they're a local player and they are in front of their family, in front of their friends, and they become a professional player in their hometown, in front of their fans and family and everyone, that's success to us. That means that we are doing and giving opportunities to players that we always talked about, because that's what this club is about. We want to give opportunities. We value youth. Our coaches wouldn't be here if we didn't value young players. We can go out and get all ex-college players, ex-professional players, and play for Fort Wayne and have 28-year-olds, 29-year-olds, and go out and win USL too. Where we could do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be easy. I'm not going to easy.
No,
Wouldn't be
that's
easy, but you know what I mean.
The model sounds like
That's
an
that's
EPL or MLS
that's what we
academy,
want
like
to-
you're building them up.
Yes, that's what we want to do. So success, we all want to win. That's easy to say, but how you do that? Every club has their own philosophies and how they want they want to do that. But for us, we value our youth. We want to give kids opportunities. So our win and success would be, okay, we get to a first team. We have our academy. And then how many of those U18, U19 players are ready to step up to our first team?
That's
and then
right.
how many of those can we get to say we have a Chicago Fire, LAFC calling our office saying, hey, we have a guy named Scott that we want to sign. What do you think? Oh, we're going to celebrate that because that's what we want to do.
Not this guy. Not this guy.
That's great.
So that's success for us.
I was watching some videos of you on YouTube.
Oh goodness.
And
Which one?
my
Don't say the World Cup one.
Okay, well, anyway,
Because
next
I know
question.
what
No,
you're
okay.
talking
No.
Oh, okay, good.
My favorite one, I think it was called Tenacity or something. But what happened was, it was the basic gist was these guys are trying to slide tackle you, and this one guy finally pushes you at the end, and you kick the goal in. It was basically the premise of that one video clip. It was only about 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it said that basically this guy just will not give up.
I think it was
And
against USA. Man, I know you're talking about.
It was. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. That was beautiful. That was beautiful to watch. But I got to ask you. So, is there one moment or several moments or something that you could share with us about your favorite moment in sports?
Other than when you
sports.
met me.
Yeah. He said in sports.
That's everybody.
sure.
That's everybody's favorite. But is there something that really stands out when you think back to your career?
Yeah, 100%. I'll start off with this. The highlight and the most proud I've ever been is to represent my country. 100%. From Champions League games to playing at some of the biggest clubs in the world, from Rangers, PSV, Man City, representing your country in a World Cup, listening to your national anthem while you're at it's the pinnacle of our sport. It's
Amazing.
the pinnacle of soccer. To be able to do that 4 times, that's hands down. Just for me, that's the the most proud I've ever been. But to pick one moment out, I would say 2002. I was the youngest 2002 World Cup in South Korea, Japan.
Yep.
I was the youngest player on the squad. I got a call when I was laying in bed when I was 19 years old. The coach told me I was going to the World Cup.
Wow.
I'd only been a professional for 2.5 years, and I turned 20 on the way to Korea, like, you know, because of the daylight saving.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Dateline, yeah. So I turned 20 on the flight, but I was the youngest person in the squad, and to start the first game against Portugal, and we won 3-2. That's the most, I would say, the moment that I would never forget. And
Very cool.
The moment that I always hold, you know, dearest in my heart for sure. You know, being able to play that game, to start that World Cup, our most successful World Cup in men's history, to be a part of that and to, you know, play a role in that was pretty special. And obviously having my family in the stands as well. And obviously my good friend, my roommate, the other young gun, Landon Donovan, right next to me in the starting lineup too. So we had two 20-year-olds starting against Portugal, first game of the World Cup. That's pretty special.
Wow, that's
And
excellent.
let me jump in here, because when you ask what our club's about, what are we doing, what's success to us?
Yeah.
There it is. It's that youngest kid who gets to realize that dream, but not specifically that. Not to be a year older or younger than DaMarcus when they get to the World Cup. We might never have somebody do that, but it doesn't mean we can't foster that dream. And let them get as close as they possibly can so that it's their moment, whatever that means to them.
Excellent. Well, and I want to make sure you guys have time for your shout out. How would you like our viewers to contact you or to get more involved with the new stadium and with everything that's going on with you guys?
The first part is that we want to grow with people. In other words, we understand we're USL 2 right now, but we're going to be USL 1. We understand that we play at the University of St. Francis right now, but it's a pretty nice place when you start talking about college, you know, places to play. And it's partnership. I mean, we will have connections to St. Francis. Don't know what they'll look like yet, but after we're gone. And so 4nfc.com, and that'll tell you everything you need to know. You know, it's very transparent. It'll tell you about the club. You can see what we're trying to do in the community. You can see, you know, how to get involved. But we want you to come out and see us now, so that you can take that journey with us a little bit. Because if you don't know what it looks like now, you're not going to walk into this unbelievable stadium at the pro level, and you're not going to say, wow, this is different, you know? And so that's growth. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I've played in one building, or not played, but I've worked with teams that have played in one building my whole life, and that was the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum that was built here in 1952. So I didn't have anything to do with it. We want our club to be a facilitator of that building. We want that building to be a facilitator of our club. We want to create the best experience for fans that come out and support us and see us, and then maybe check out a concert as well or another event. But then we also want them to see what DaMarcus's dream is and what he wants to build. And if we can accomplish all that together at the same time, then there it is.
Excellent. I got to thank you guys for coming in, and it's such an honor to meet both you guys. We've been hearing about you guys. Moving here has been exciting for me. Having you guys on the show has been great, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people out here in the hallway that are going to be mad that they didn't get to interview you guys. So
Appreciate you having us, man.
I'll take
Appreciate
that as a
it.
victory for us, too.
Yeah, we're thankful. Thank you.
You guys are awesome. And I love the community. I love the way you guys are talking about, it's not just building a stadium, it's building community. And I think to me, that's what Fort Wayne is, as a newcomer to it. And that's what I think is so beautiful. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Let's get into the rapid wrap-up.
All right. Outside of Fort Wayne FC, what is your favorite soccer team?
I know, you go first.
He doesn't want to answer.
I can't give you a quick answer, so I got to tell you a story. I'm sorry.
All right.
So
you want me to go
rapid
then?
wrap-up.
this is not that rapid, but
Who's
I'll
got
get
the
there.
faster
I'll
answer?
get- Well, he does.
Okay.
I'll get there, though, okay?
Okay.
So it's Rangers in Glasgow, Scotland, and here's why. Because I went on a trip with my son years ago. I was fortunate. We went over, and no connection to DaMarcus yet, and so we went to a game, and it was Rangers-Celtics, which is the equivalent of Yankees-Red Sox times about 10,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was at the game, and so I'm getting to know DaMarcus. I'm watching it, and he's like, I said, I'm doing the background, and he said, well, who'd you root for? And I said, neither. I was rooting for my son,
Yeah, right.
and so I got to stay. Had I answered Celtic, it would have been a short.
over.
It would have been a short answer.
Yeah.
So my favorite club, honestly, right now is Man City. I just bought a hat, by the way. You haven't
Nice,
seen
I
it
like
yet,
that.
okay?
All right.
But because Bees has a connection to it, and I like the big guy. What's his name?
Holland.
Holland,
Yeah,
yeah.
Holland.
Because he's like a big monster player that's like
He's huge.
doing great things because he's big. So
Okay.
the
Shaquille O'Neal of soccer? Is
pretty
that what
much,
this-
yeah. So I can relate to that.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you're good if you're big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine's easy. Every club I play for.
See,
Cop
there it
out.
is.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I can't.
No, I know.
I can't pick. I can't pick one.
No, I know.
That's my favorite. Like every club that I've ever played for, that's who I support.
Good
Right
for you.
now, my favorite team's 4NFC because my son played for it, and now I get to do it with these guys.
It's our favorite, too.
For a food question here locally, DeBrand's chocolate or Coney Island hot dogs?
Oh, that's easy. I don't even eat chocolate.
He doesn't eat
so
chocolate
there you
or
go.
ice cream.
And I
You
love.
kidding
And
me?
huh? Yeah, that's true. That's true too. Yeah, hot dog. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I'm an Auburn guy. The Brown House.
No, okay.
Yeah.
He said one or the other. Do you just add your
Okay.
own?
Yep.
Okay.
He's going to add a third option.
Yeah, right.
All right, well,
I'm not going to pick a favorite restaurant or food product in the city of Fort Wayne because I love them all and I want them all to be involved with Fort Wayne FC. FortWayneFC.com. We have tremendous
Sell,
partnerships
sell,
and
sell.
where would we
opportunities.
tell them how to reach you? I don't.
Favorite soccer stadium you guys have been to in your life?
Mine's Rangers
Yeah,
in
that's
Glasgow
true.
because it's only. I'm going to take that back. We landed over there for that trip and we went on Trafford. We got
They
to
went to Old
walk on.
Trafford?
We
Yeah.
got to walk on the field. So
Oh, cool.
that's probably it. Yeah,
Wow.
for me.
I played at Old Trafford.
I know. Got to show me up, man. I played it.
Okay, can I?
I was on the same field.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Played in or like just being a spectator?
Both.
I would say the craziest atmosphere I ever played in was Red Star Belgrade. Yeah, I would say Red Star in Belgrade. That was probably the crazy. There or Fenerbahce in Turkey. That stadium was crazy. But I would say, I don't know, that's tough. From the clubs, I'll just say the clubs I played for, it's got to be Rangers.
Okay.
Yeah, Rangers.
See?
Yeah.
Same
Okay.
answer. There we are, right there. Copa said.
Do you have any favorite pregame snack or pregame superstitions that you do?
I didn't. I guess that's all me.
That might be a ritual.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I did not have any superstitions. I didn't tie my shoe, one left or the one right before.
Not sandwiches?
No, I was.
That's all he eats now. Sandwiches.
Yeah, I didn't have any pregame like ritual snacks or anything like that. I just ate what I know what I needed to eat. Carbs and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. so-
right.
But it wasn't an exact meal every single pregame meal.
You guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Great show. Continued
it.
success. I can't wait to see the new stadium. I, too, have seen the renderings, but it's not going to do it justice until you walk out there.
Have you been to a game with us yet?
No.
Here? Well,
Nope.
then you need to because as soon as you buy tickets for the remainder of the season, you'll have priority access for your choice of seats in the new stadium.
See what he does. I love
And
that.
what website would I go to for such a
I
thing?
think it's FortWayneFC.com. Fort Wayne spelled out, by the way. Full props to the city that we love and where we are, not FW. So Fort Wayne and then FC at the end.
Absolutely.
And that's football club. by
This
the
is
way.
a football club. You guys, thanks again. You guys are excellent. Really appreciate your
No,
time.
thank you for having us.